Anthony, thank you for agreeing. I really appreciate you putting in some time for the whole group. Tell me about what's this topic that you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, so since we met in October, I got approached about a job. It's a big job, Chief Marketing Officer, based in Europe, for a company that has most of its sales in the US. And I've got down to final two, got a panel interview with the main board and the owner of the company on Thursday. Well, in the next 4 or 5 days, next week, middle of next week. I've got to do what I'm worried about is I've got to do it's an hour and a half. I've got to do a 20-minute presentation on really 3 massive topics, which they said high level. I'm not sure. I only got the brief last night, and I just want to do my best, basically.
Okay. And what does do your best mean? Does that mean present well enough so that you're in with a shout for the job?
Yeah, well, I did. I mean, yeah, I guess so. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going. But also, part of that actually is making sure that I'm asking the questions I need to be satisfied that this is the kind of place where I want to work as well, because there are some question marks that have come up. But I think primarily I've got to really try and focus in 3 different areas, right? One is getting the presentation right. The other one is getting ready for any questions they might have. And the third one is making sure I've got the right questions for myself.
Great. Okay. So, and have you done this before? Prepare for these quite ballsy type of...
Yeah, normally preparation of meetings is fine for me. I think the difference normally with the meetings I prepare for is I go into it for a conversation. This feels like it's a presentation.
Yes.
So, and I want to strike the right balance between having stimulus on, because it's on Zoom. One of the things I'm worried about is normally when you're in a room, you can manage the room and the dynamic a little bit better, and you can take props in. Obviously, I can't take props because the people I'm interviewing with are based all over the world. One's in the US, one's in Norway, one's in the UK. Can't send them anything in advance. I've got to write the content. And what I'm trying to work out is how am I going to bring this presentation to life, but not make it a presentation, make it a conversation. I want the right balance.
Yes. So what is it that makes you want to bring this to a coaching session rather than just use your time between now and next Thursday getting on and doing your prep?
Question. So what I'm worried about, because I guess I'm a bit worried that I don't have a plan at the minute, right? So I've just been given the brief last night, and I know what I need to do to get into the room, but what I'm worried about is when I'm in the room, how I'm going to perform. Yeah. Okay. And so I haven't really given that any thought. So what I'm trying to work through is how do I balance? And I just don't know how to, because I've done this in the past, but I just don't know the people. I normally do it with people I know.
Okay.
I don't know the characters very well, right? This is the second time I've met most of these people. So I'm quite anxious about how to get that. It's going to be straight in. I'm not interviewed for years.
So we've got a lot going on here, haven't we? We've got Zoom, we've got new people, we've got, you've only just been given the brief, we've got it's high level, that it feels like pressure. Where do you want to be by past so that you're clear from all of that stuff?
I think one of the things I'm really quite anxious about is I'm not sure I fully understand the questions.
Okay.
So, and then when I get in, I'm a bit nervous about when I present, what questions can be fired. It's all this anxiety that's going on. So I guess I want to kind of feel at the end of this that I've got a plan which is going to make me feel less anxious.
So is it having a plan that, in your experience, reduces your anxiety when you know what you're meant to be doing?
Reduces my anxiety and feels that I'm ready to have a conversation, because there's going to be an instinct in me here which is just present versus structure this for a conversation.
Okay, so we're aiming for a plan by past.
I think so.
So if you're here, you got this thing last night. So it's not a visual representation, but if you got this information last night and there was 0 plan, where are you now midday? If over there is plans completely ready.
So where am I now?
Yeah.
I've got a whole heap of thoughts in my head, and I even woke up this morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning and started typing away stuff. So my mind's going into overload.
Yes.
And I guess it's a case of I'm just putting loads of stuff together. I don't have a plan. I'm just gathering loads of thoughts.
Yes. Okay. So you're emptying the store cupboard out and putting everything on the kitchen table.
Yeah, and thinking about who do I need to speak to, to help inform how I do this. And do I need? I've already put in time, I guess, with the company themselves just to clarify the questions.
Yes. You have already done that.
I have done that. I've got a call this afternoon.
Okay. Okay. So that was the first step you wanted, wasn't it? You're not sure about these questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was an obvious thing when I got the brief last night. It's like, well, I need to ask the question, what actually are you looking for here?
Yes.
And then what's in my mind is I need to get loads of stuff, and I'm just a bit worried. I'm going to overload myself. My tendency here, when I get stressed, is to go into information overload.
Yes.
So I'm normally a big picture person, and the key here is going to be to keep it very simple on 3 very complicated topics and big thing. I mean, they basically want me to write the company strategy for them in 20 minutes, right? But it says at a high level. So that's what I'm really stressed about, which is how do I balance here's some thoughts and questions which then promote conversation versus here's the answer.
Have you done this before? Have you done something of that nature before, or something comparable?
In my line of work, yes. Okay, and so because that's when I'm among people I have existing relationships with, or people in the room that know what's going on. You've got a bit more time to do some stakeholder management, clarify what the conversations might need to have, and set it up like that. What I'm most nervous about here, I think, is managing in the moment.
Yes.
A, having the right content, and B, managing in the moment. So, getting to the right content, I can probably get to the plan on that, which is just going through this detail down into it. It's then when I'm in the room, I don't know these people from somebody who lives in my town, basically. I might bump into in Waitrose. I'm quite anxious about that moment when I'm in the moment.
So is it the fact that you don't know them that makes you anxious?
I don't know them, and I'm not quite sure what they're looking for. And then subsequently what questions might ask. So I guess I'm a bit nervous about not knowing the answer to any questions, detailed questions, or I'm a bit nervous to go in and there's just blank faces and there's no, it's like, it's anxious about the moment going in and facing into this barrage of faces, 4 or 5 people who clearly know their business. They want me to give a point of view on it, and then what questions they might pop up.
Yes. And
how to deal with them.
So from what you're saying, there's these 2 things, aren't there? There's this whole, if I knew the questions, I could prepare and then I could have possible answers. And we read loads of interview advice about that, to guess a question type of thing. And then there's this whole other thing about be ready to answer any question that they might ask. Which of those 2 do you think you need to focus on?
Be ready to answer any question they might ask, particularly around the topics I'm going to present.
Great. Okay. So, and is that possible that they could ask you, the questions you could predict, or completely random questions about that topic?
It is possible,
okay.
but I may not know, because they could ask me very detailed questions, which I just can't predict, and which I probably wouldn't know the answer to in the room.
So a strategy for managing yourself, right? For managing yourself when you are put on the spot, because this is what's happening, you're being put on the spot. Do you have a strategy for how you manage when you're put on the spot in any type of conversational circumstances?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. So yeah, I do. So, it's basically, normally I start with putting my feet on the ground and anchoring myself. Very simple thing. Yeah. Thinking about what I've heard, and if I need to, ask them to repeat the question to just clarify, or even ask exactly what they want, play it back with the question. Yeah. Just to get a bit more clarification, or just clarify what they're asking for, to then be able to reframe my answer.
Yes. Okay. So you buy some thinking time, but you also buy some centering time.
Yeah.
Okay. And does that work in your experience?
Very well.
Okay. Well, that's handy then, isn't it?
Yeah. It does work well most of the time. It works really well.
Okay.
Most
And
of the time.
you said anchoring, you talked about the whole anchoring of your feet. Is that an important thing for you, like the sort of the anchoring in the bodily state, the feelings and all that type of stuff?
It calms me down. It calms me down. It's just it's real centering. It just makes me feel a bit more assured. But obviously, also, I notice one of the things when you're on these Zoom meetings is you're fidgeting all the time, right? And or certainly I am. And so that whatever I'm doing, it's the full 360 perception. So anchoring, I might be going like this,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden people go, "What the hell's going on?" Which you're not so aware of it when you're in a room. So the levels of personal self-awareness are much higher.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So there's that element. Okay. So you've got some approaches for anchoring when you're hit with that question. Is there anything you can do to anchor yourself in advance, like on the assumption, I'm going to get these questions coming my way, to prepare yourself?
One of the things I must do is take a cup of coffee beforehand. Just because it seems to be like a ritual. It's like the putting on your left sock before your right sock if you're going out to play a sport or something like that. So having a cup of coffee would be part of that. So I need to think through actually what might be my ritual in advance, directly in advance. Anchoring beforehand is, what do you mean, by a few days beforehand or just before?
I think what I mean is so that by the time you are sat there in the room opposite these people that's provoking some tension, that you feel as anchored as you possibly can be.
I think I've not really thought about it, but I can do some things just by practicing and getting ready for difficult questions and think through actually if that question, start preparing for questions which might be unexpected, and then think about how I'm going to respond and react, and maybe do it in front of the camera, because what I don't want to do is have my body language going all over the place, which can be very distracting.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good thought. Yeah, I'm thinking about anything else. I think I could probably I've got to talk to some people and just bounce some stuff around people, which I haven't really. I'm as my mind's thinking right now. I've thought about one or two people to talk about, but actually I could broaden that to a group of other people who are interested in this stuff, who could help me, which aren't necessarily experts in the subject which I'm doing, but more experts in how to cope with this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
So these ideas that are coming out, they seem to be ideas about you as yourself as a human being, all the bodily and the mind stuff. And do you also need to reflect now a little bit on the content? You came in worrying about the content, so do you need to talk a bit about the content, how you're going to feel, or what you need to do to get prepped with the content?
Yeah, so the content is in two areas really. One is just going through the process of narrowing it down, which at the minute it's like these 3 mega questions, and I'm trying to think through. My normal strategy is to almost like write a storyline. So when I go into it, I've used charts to tell a story, but then every chart heading will tell that story. But then what I don't want to do is make it conversational. So do I have a plan? Yeah, I'm just a bit overwhelmed at the minute with all of there's an element of ambiguity around what I need to do, which I've been in before, and I know it's just a passing moment. But there's also actually, when I get into it, how am I going to balance with people I don't know, pitching at the right level to show quality of thinking, but invite discussion and conversation, because I think that's what is required. I'm pretty certain what's required here is not me talking for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What's required here is me having 7 or 8 charts for 20 minutes to basically put it up there, say a couple of things on each one, but then get into a conversation.
Yes.
So it's like turning to about an hour's conversation. And I think what I'm most anxious about is how to structure that piece, which again is something which I haven't done for a while.
And what do you need? What do you need so that you can get to the place where you've got your charts and it looks solid and you've got your structure?
Clarity on what they're looking for. And then me going through a lot of data and writing stuff down and constant refinement. And then I think the thing which I haven't thought about necessarily, I was going to, but it's just who I bounce this off. To almost do a role play with somebody. But this is the key thing I think we should just emerge, which is role play situation with somebody just to see how it goes through.
And let me ask, if you don't get the clarity, because that's not in your hands, is it? You've sent the email to say, could you clarify the questions? If the answers that come back are even vaguer, what might you have to do so that you can still get ready even when you're not really getting the answers?
So I have to give it what I think is the right answer, and have a point of view on something. So what I'm trying to seek clarity on is, what exactly are they looking to be shown? Not what's the answer, but what do they want to have a conversation about? I'm certain that's going to be just as vague almost when I have this conversation later. But what I guess then is, what I'm going to, the thing I probably need is so when I have this conversation later, I need to ask the right questions around what are you looking for? Yes. Maybe start with something basically, can you explain what you mean by this? Maybe I need to plan some questions around what they're looking for. If I don't get it, then I need to go in with a point of view, but I need to structure the conversation around, this is my interpretation, and be agile in the room. And that's part of the anxiety here, in terms of being agile in the room around what it might look like.
And are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to accept, okay, I'll just have to plan on my best guess about what they want?
Well, I think we all like a certain degree of, I certainly like a certain degree of certainty, but it's not life. And I've been in enough moments where I haven't had it. It's just, it feels like the stakes are a little bit higher now than before. And like I say, with these unknown characters. So yeah, of course I'll have to accept it. So there's no, that's life.
So we're coming towards the end of our time. You've done lots of writing, I've noticed. Tell me, where are you at on the things that you came in? You wanted to get towards having a plan so that you could get in the room. Where are you at on that process?
So I think where I'm at is, I've been through something like this before, many times. So some of this I'm really comfortable with, and just talking about it has made me realize I just need to be really comfortable where I'm at. Because like I said, I woke up this morning a little bit anxious about some of this stuff. I've got clarity over needing to really get sharp following this little session here today on what questions I need to ask later. And then I've got to reminding myself of strategies in the meeting I have deployed successfully in the past. And in terms of preparation and strategies before the meeting, which I hadn't thought about, which was new, that's the big kind of insight and revelation for me. It's actually thinking about what I can do to really get practiced around the ambiguity of what might be thrown at me, including through the refinement process, doing a little bit of role play with somebody who I know is quite good at this, but not subject expert. So at the minute, my thinking was down subject experts, but actually thinking around somebody who could help me with this stuff, who would be better, playing the issues around my anxieties, which I hadn't really thought through what the problem was.
So the ideas that you're coming up with and the ones that you've shared and the ones you've written down, is it clear enough to then turn that into the action points you're going to do over these next few?
Yeah, no, I'm really clear what I need to do. So thank you very much. It's just good talking about it, and getting the revelation around strategy before anchoring and stuff like that is important.
Great. Okay. If I can offer a walk the dog question, a walk the puppy question, is reflect on this and our session today, but also what you're going through, what you put yourself through since 5 o'clock this morning, and just decide what have you learned about yourself. Let's not get distracted with that, but now, but have that as a bit of a learning point. But just share, just finish off. How do you feel now about this?
I'm feeling a bit calmer than I was at the beginning of the day.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling calmer, internal calm.
Good. Thank you. Well, thank you for getting stuck into it and doing it in front of the group. That's really appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you.